Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy over here is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Now, back by popular demand, we have more live callers. This time, we're going to talk to somebody about passing the Second Amendment along. I'm not even going to ruin it because I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to say. But if you want to be on the show, just like the caller you're about to see, there's a Google form right down there in the description box. Fill it out. Let us know what you want to talk about and bounce in here, and hopefully the schedules will align and we can have a conversation to further the Second Amendment like we're about to have right now. So without much more further ado, please welcome Darren, and thank you so much for calling in, my man.
Yeah, thank you guys. So, get right into it the best I can. So we know that the ATF cannot legally keep a gun registry, right? I am just kind of curious why they can supposedly collect gun records for like a searchable database though, through like the 4473, and kind of want to know when's enough is enough, and like when action can take against them, or someone can actually slap their hand and be like, okay, yeah, you're technically making a gun registry, and that's not allowed.
Nice. I like that question. Tim, you want to start that bad boy?
Yeah, so you're talking about the federal law that prohibits the ATF from keeping a database of gun owners, and you're absolutely right. So the only way to stop them from doing what they're doing is to drag them through the courts, right? And that's something that we're going to have to wait for the right case to present itself, because you have to have standing. Then you can file the court case and have that argument. But you're absolutely right. So they're prohibited from doing it. They've been doing it. Any gun dealer will tell you that the ATF can just show up whenever they want to, demand to see your records. Many times they'll go into a room by themselves. And there's evidence out there on the internet showing ATF agents keeping that data, right? Taking pictures with their phones, things like that. Also, when an FFL goes out of business, they have to send all those 4473 forms to the ATF. What does the ATF do with that data? They digitize it and make it searchable, like you said.
And they kind of digitize it.
Yeah. But they say, well, we don't really keep track of what the individual gun owner has. Well, the 4473 form has everything on it, right? So yes, they do have that information, and them saying that they don't have it, they don't keep it, I don't think is a truthful statement. Only way we're going to find out is to drag them through court and make them show us what they're actually doing. And somebody needs to do it. But again, we have to wait for that court case to present itself so we have standing in the court.
Or you also have the ability for Congress to get involved as well, but that's a little bit farther of a reach than the judicial, unfortunately. Judicial has no choice to take up the matter or at least examine the matter. The Congress depends who's running the show, depends on what's going to happen. I mean, there's lots of different aspects, but there's two different ways that you could do that. And at the end of the day, it's a check on executive power. That's essentially what it is. Both branches, legislative and judicial, have the ability to do it. And that's where, in my opinion, that's where we make the most difference. So that's an excellent question. And even in the setup of this, the ATF argument or the government bureaucracy argument would be, well, we're not digitizing those. And it's not a database, because databases are searchable. We just have all of the forms digitized, but we can't search them, so it's not a database. And it's a big joke of a nuance. It's like, no, we would never do a database. Are those all digital? Well, yeah, but we can't search it. Then why do you have it digital? Yeah. Anyway, so
convenience.
That's exactly.
They are playing a game.
It's convenience.
It is a game,
and that's exactly what it is. It's a game 100% the way through. But I think this is one of the reasons that Tim and I started The Second Legacy, this channel. When we were talking about putting it together, it was about motivating everyday Americans to activate politically. Right, because you've seen some things that have happened that are pretty uncommon in this Congress alone already. Like McCarthy's speakership, he has one vote, and anyone can vote him out. Anybody. Freedom Caucus, Second Amendment Caucus, anybody. Boebert, Chip Roy, Jordan, any of them can do it. And the vote of no confidence is so crucial. That's not common. That doesn't happen a lot. In fact, it was just reinstated because Pelosi got rid of it. But the big thing that's important here is the more people that you have that are of a like mind that would do that, the more power you're going to have to hold these executive bureaucracies, their feet to the fire. I think that's in the shortest, most direct way that American citizens get involved and do it. That's the way you do it, is through congressional representation, the right congressional representation. I'm not talking about someone like Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, who's on the Problem Solvers Caucus, and solving a problem for him is working with Democrats to infringe upon Second Amendment rights because he's a problem solver. I think that's a really important piece of it. Yeah, you have the judicial, absolutely, but you also have that congressional. I think it's cool to say the founders actually knew what they were doing, and we have two ways to curtail that power.
Yep. And I mean, realistically, right now in the House, they control the committees, and we could pressure our representatives to do an investigation into ATF. They seem to be amiable to it. They're talking about holding ATF accountable right now. So even if they hold a hearing, it doesn't mean they can necessarily stop ATF from what they're doing, but it can cast a light on what they're doing. And I can assure you, no government agency likes that. So there are things that we can do, but then this is also kind of dovetails into a more overreaching argument, if you will, about our rights and our responsibility as gun owners, because we need to remain politically engaged. Right now, we don't necessarily have the deck stacked in our favor to get something pushed through in Congress outside of maybe a committee hearing. But when that opportunity presents itself, we have to jump. We have to be out there making noise. Take a look what's going on nationwide right now. People that are trying to strip us of our Second Amendment rights are out in force right now. We generally don't do that. The last time I saw that happen was during the Obama administration when he was pushing an assault weapons ban. I went to my own state capital, and most other states in the union had similar demonstrations. But we as gun owners don't typically go out and demonstrate. We need to change that, because we have to let people know that we're a force to be reckoned with. We're out here, and our voices do count as well. And I would argue we have the majority of people on our side.
Oh, absolutely.
So it is critical that
Without
we
question.
stay politically engaged and that we take part in the same political processes that our adversaries are doing. We can't just stay home and be the nice guys. We have to be up in their face too.
I agree. That's a big deal, Tim.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think there's such a important nuance to that piece of what you just said. So we need to be politically active 100%. And when I think what you're saying is when you say we need to be in their face as well, what you mean is present. Like, hey, this is the opposition. It's not necessarily you've got to be more aggressive than the other, because two people trying to out-aggress each other is not going to end well. We've seen that for the last 3 to 4 years. And this is something that we've talked about in an earlier show, is keeping that composure, representing a solid front of this is where my rights are, this is where I stand to support my rights, but drawing that line to when the emotion's coming at you, being able to take that and absorb it and not respond back, that's a next level. That's next level discipline. That's next level control.
You're wrong, man. I watched CNN, and they said nowhere is it written that protests are supposed to be peaceful. Okay?
You know what? I saw that too. In CNN, what you are right. You're right. Where does it say that? It's kind of like, there's a lot of things that they say. You know what? It doesn't say you can't kill a person in the Constitution. It just says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I'm like, really? What are we talking about?
Right. No, but we do need to be out there and just as loud and vocal as they are, because when they're out there demonstrating, you need to counter demonstrate, because when they just show up and we don't show up, then they get to push their narrative forward. And, people listen to the loudest voice in the room typically. And the anti-gunners, while being in the minority, are the loudest voice in the room, and they always are. And we have to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
So anyway, what a great question. Darren, thank you for calling in. If you would like to be part of our call-in show, you can do that. There is a link in the video description below where you can fill out a Google Doc. Let us know what times are available. If everything aligns, we'll get you on the show, ask your questions, and we'll have a really great conversation just like we did today. Again, thanks to Darren. If you guys would like to share this video, that would be awesome. We definitely encourage that. Also, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. And with that being said, we'll talk to you guys soon.